Hey guys, welcome back to Exploring Careers. You're joined by me, Mitch, as always, and today we're joined by Indi from Affinity Education. Thanks so much for joining us today, Indi.
Hey Mitch, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
No, it's very well, thank you. Very well, thank you for asking. Excited to get stuck into this one. Are you able to kick us off by telling us who Affinity Education are and what you guys do?
So Affinity Education is the lead in the childcare industry. They own childcare centres right across Queensland and all throughout. They own a few different centres everywhere. They're really good with their organisation.
Perfect. And it looks like you're in a centre there by the looks of things. I can see some colours and all that type of stuff. So what's your role? What are you doing there at the moment?
So I'm currently in our STEM room here at Eaton's Hill. We have one of the first STEM rooms here, which is all science-based. Here at Infinity, I am in the nursery as a lead role, which I've just taken up after finishing my Certificate 3. So my role is looking after the babies.
Awesome, that'd be good. Well, we might have to get you around to our house. We've got a 4-month-old at home who is definitely a handful. But I like it. I like that you've got the STEM room there. I think that's really good. It's such a big focus in the country at the moment, getting more people into those STEM fields and obviously starting them young. I love that. So your journey to where you are today, is this something you always kind of had in the back of your mind, something you always wanted to do? Did it come to you later? Do you mind walking us through that?
Yeah, so I actually lived in a rural town in Queensland before I moved to Brisbane to start with Affinity. But yeah, I've always loved childcare. I always wanted to work in the industry. I've been very passionate about helping kids and all of that reach their milestones. So it's definitely been something that I've always wanted to do. They were really approachable when it came to applying, and they were very enthusiastic about putting on trainees throughout centres, which is really good and really easy on my behalf. They join you up, they do everything for you, and just got to sign the paper.
Perfect. Okay, so sounds easy enough. So what was the process and what was the pathway like? Was it straight from secondary school? Did you do any further education, or was it straight to Affinity? How did you get your foot in the door, and how did you get involved?
So with Affinity, they run their own traineeships through their centres. So they've got their own education system within. So all I did was contact them straight after high school, and they've signed me up to a traineeship after that.
Perfect.
So very easy.
Cool. So you've been able to learn while you're on the job, and Affinity have been able to kind of walk you through that process.
Very fun, yeah.
Awesome. Great. So what's something that people wouldn't know, I guess, about the childcare industry or working with Affinity? I guess most people would look at, people like yourself and working in childcare and looking after the kids. What else is involved in the industry? What else do you get up to that most people wouldn't normally think about or see when they think childcare?
I guess a lot of people think it's just pretty much babysitting as such. It's really not. So you create programs for the children to explore. You get to do different activities like that. So we've got our STEM room here, and we have one of our educators that will create different science experiments for the kids to do. Within the nursery, which I'm in, we do a lot of sensory stuff, so edible stuff from like chia seeds to cream and all those things.
Perfect. And is this something that, I guess, Is this something that you always wanted to do, do you think? Like, what was it about childcare, that you wanted to get involved in so much?
So the main thing was the children. So getting involved within creating like different atmospheres for the children to learn and grow is the main reason that I really wanted to get involved. So being able to create areas and stuff where they can learn and grow. For example, in the nursery, we have areas where they start to crawl or start to walk, and it's really rewarding being able to see those milestones. It's the children.
No, I can imagine. As I mentioned before, we've got a 4-month old who's just started rolling. Very exciting. He's just started rolling, which is great, but he's now doing it all throughout the night and keeping us up, which is fantastic. But what was it about Affinity, do you think, that drew you to them specifically? Because obviously there are quite a lot of options in the childcare industry. What was it about Affinity? Was it purely the fact that they were able to educate you as well as hiring you, or what else was it about Affinity that drew you to them?
I think what drew me to Affinity was their centres and how nicely presented they have their centres. All of the kids seemed to be well engaged in activities and happy throughout when I came to visit the centre. All the educators were really inviting and friendly, saying hi when I went through on like a tour kind of thing before I started, which was really good to see.
And the centres look quite cool. I'm just trying to get a bit of an idea in the background. So they're all obviously high tech, all the latest stuff. How many kids are you looking after, for example? And have you got, other teammates that you work with? And, are you in charge of looking after one group and then there are other people looking after another group? How does that work?
Yeah, so I'm within the nursery. We have up to 8 kids in the room at once, so all under the age of 15 months. So me and my assistant are in the room pretty much every day, as we do have 8 children most days, which is good. So we're there to assist each other through the whole day and that process, especially with 8 little ones, it's a handful. You can imagine with having only one.
One of the questions I was going to ask was, you touched on kind of you need patience, I imagine, to work with young kids. What other kind of skills and personal attributes do you think you need for somebody who's keen to get involved in the childcare industry? Patience being one. What else do you need?
Patience is a very big one. Being very caring towards the children, having a very open mind with doing different things as things can change suddenly, especially with, obviously, if a child doesn't want to do something, being able to redirect. Within like certain circumstances, being very happy and encouraging to the children is a massive part of, as if a child's learning to do something, they're not always 100% confident within themselves. You've got to be that reassurance for them, which is really good to have.
No, definitely, that is exactly right. I can speak for that. I can speak for that firsthand now. Going back to the education piece with Affinity, I have written down here that you're currently finalising your bachelor's degree. Is that right? So you're able to still continue to work and learn this far in. Is that right?
So I've just finished my certificate 3 and I'm now doing my diploma. So yeah, I've just moved into a lead role, which is good. And to complete that lead role, I'm studying my diploma and then we'll look to doing my bachelor's after that. Perfect.
So what do you think the future holds for you? Like, do you envision staying in childcare and working your way up the ranks and building a career in childcare and with Affinity, and do you feel supported doing so? Because I guess you're doing all these courses and all these wonderful things. What do you think the future holds for you?
Yeah, so definitely looking to build my knowledge within the childcare industry and work towards my bachelor's. Hopefully it will be kind of younger years based, so to stay within the early years framework and stay within that, within Affinity.
Awesome. So what advice would you give to anyone who's listening to this now and going, you know what, this sounds really cool. This is right up my alley. I want to work with kids. This sounds fantastic. What advice would you give to those people? Like what are the steps they need to take to get to where you are today?
Most definitely reach out. I think that was the one thing that I was so scared about. I was so scared of being rejected within an industry or somewhere that didn't need people or, that kind of thing. Definitely reach out to the companies and be like, hey, I'm just finishing school in 6 months or something. I'm looking to start a traineeship or looking to get into the childhood career. Like, do you guys have availability? Would you be interested? The worst they can say is no.
Exactly right, no, and it's always a bit frightening, that first step, reaching out, especially when you are only young, and it's often the first time you're doing something like this. It is often frightening, but it's more often the best thing you can do is actually reach out, and see what doors are open. So I guess my last question I like to leave things on is, what advice would you give to young people who are currently completing their high schooling, their year 10, 11, 12, whatever it may be, because it's often a very stressful time where you're asked to make a lot of decisions. I remember when I was back at school, I was in year 9 and you're asked to pick your subjects, which then lead on to, are you going to go off to university or TAFE, or are you going to go straight to the workforce? You're asked to make a lot of decisions at a very young age, which is very stressful and overwhelming. So knowing what you know now and being a bit older and being through the system, what advice would you give to any young people watching this today?
Honestly, don't stress, because those marks and things you get in high school could change. You could get into your uni degree that you want to do, that you've dreamed about since year 9, and change your mind. And Perfect. You could go into a different career completely that's more suited to you. Those marks didn't matter whatsoever.
100%. No, I couldn't agree more. The doors are never shut, even though sometimes it may seem scary and seem a bit frightening. The door is never closed. There are always pathways and always options to whatever you want to do. So, yeah, I agree 110%. Do not stress. But, Indi, it has been so great talking to you today. It's been great hearing about your own journey with Affinity, your passion about childcare and what you're doing there. Of course, if you are keen on learning more about a career in the childcare industry or with Affinity Education specifically, then you can obviously visit the Affinity Education profile on explorecareers.com.au. We'll leave all the relevant links below us in the description. So if you are interested by what Indi's had to say today and you do want to learn more, visit those links. But Indi, again, it's been great chatting to you and appreciate you jumping on today.
Amazing. Thank you very much.